Okay, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate all you guys spending this beautiful, beautiful Friday with us. Hello, hello, hello. And now we're live. And so I tell you what, guys, we have, no, I do not. No gorilla. We have a busy Friday to kind of go through today, and hopefully wherever you are in this world, wherever it is that you're having a good day. Yeah, it's November the 1st, and hopefully you've all had a good Halloween. It was, good experience, and I know people. I'm not going to sit here and look. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I know that there are people that are just absolutely convinced that if you do, work, you do Halloween, it's the blah 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 blah. And I think people need to just relax a little bit. Sometimes people get kind of a little too extreme when it comes to Halloween, and for both parties. Some people say it's all evil deals, all, and so just like what, just chill, just chill. It's all going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. So wherever you are, hopefully you had a safe Halloween and you're having a good day. That's the most important thing. Now, and tonight, of course, today is November the 1st. And so let me just give you a couple of things to look forward to, and we can kind of go from there. If you would like to go to my website, it's very simple. It's bishopjameslong.com. If you really want to go there, no, I guess you can. If you're really bored, you can check that out. bishopjameslong.com. And by the way, I do have my classes up there. My classes is pretty cool. It's all 4 classes. They are free. People keep asking me, will I print out this and print out that? No, I won't. It's free. I mean, you're still getting certificates. Just relax with all this. No. It's like, I don't understand. So no, I'm not going to go to the professional printing store and printing out certificates. Like, come on, people, that's too much. So anyway, you get certificates anyway. And I pay for that program, by the way, but I don't charge. So you get all 4 classes. Just go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the class link, and there it is. Also, if you want to go to the church's website, but before you do this, let me tell you where you need to go. You need to make sure you go to our sponsor's website, KGRADB. So KGRADB.com. D as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Make sure you go to the website and subscribe. Folks, if you love the paranormal like I do, they have some amazing shows there. And so do yourself a favor and go on over there. But put Bishop as your promo code. Because if you do so, you're going to get 30% off your subscription. So why not? That's a perfect way to, definitely. So it supports them because, we use their platform on StreamYard to air on, Bible studies and open mic nights. And so we appreciate tonight's show. So we appreciate that. So again, KGRADB.com, and put Bishop as your promo code. Now, finally, the last thing you need to look for is the church's website. And that's usocc.org. usocc.org. We have a lot of information is there for you. We have a frequently asked questions section, so you can go there, check them out over there. Tonight we have night prayer. So what we normally do, Monday through Friday, we have night prayer, and I go live on TikTok at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Standard. So we close this show at around 8:55 or so, 9 o'clock ish. And so then that's it. But I come back on air on TikTok and StreamYard, not StreamYard, on Spreaker. So I come back on air at 9:50 on TikTok. So just for those of you who are new, we do have night prayer on TikTok now. But we air it around 9:50 p.m. Eastern. And then on Spreaker, we start at 9:45. And then, of course, our night prayer starts at 10 p.m. Eastern. So it's just a good way to kind of just join us. And with all the stress and anxiety that life throws at you sometimes, it's nice to be able to go to a place to just kind of wind down. And that's really what we try to do. So a lot of people have enjoyed it. I enjoy it. And so please come on over. That's later on tonight. And again, we turn comments off during night prayer because obviously there's no reason to have comments off if we're in prayer. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Wraith. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. We'll have to maybe one day consider doing that. So yeah, that'd be fun. So here we are. So for those of you who do not know, I run the show on 2 different computers. Here, I run it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, KGRADB Radio, and Spreaker. Here, I run it to my friends there on TikTok. Okay, so for those of you who are watching on this camera, if you hear me say thank you, it's because my friends there on TikTok are offering gifts to me, and I appreciate the live gifts, so I say thank you. So just so that you know that I'm not losing my ever love of mine. My friends on TikTok, if you offer gifts when I'm doing live, and if I don't thank you, let me apologize first. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because when I'm looking at this camera, sometimes I can't see, obviously, in the peripheral, and so I don't know, like, oh, I just saw that, so thank you. But sometimes I don't. So if I don't thank you, my apologies. But the moderators do thank, so I appreciate that. So thank you for anybody who's offering gifts. So I appreciate that. Someone asked me about, thank you. Oh, happy, that's right. Happy, thank you. Galaxy, that's a lot of money. Folks on TikTok, listen to me. Happy Norwegian, I appreciate that, gamer. And thank you as well. Folks, I appreciate the gifts on TikTok, but please understand, although I love TikTok, thank you. TikTok takes 70% of all the gifts. So I hope you're aware of that. So if you spend like $100, I don't know how much is a Galaxy in real money. Can someone tell me? I have no idea how much. Well, see, when you're live, when you're doing TikTok, people can offer gifts. They buy things on the TikTok store. So it's $20. Okay, so a Galaxy is $20. So someone's basically giving you $20. But keep in mind that TikTok takes 70%. So not only are you buying it for $20, but then when you give it to a creator, person who's online, they take 70%. So okay. So if you, I know, I appreciate it. So if you guys want to make a donation directly to me in the ministry, you can go to Cash App is best. And that's that $ Bishop James Long, all one word. That's just my opinion, because that way you don't have to deal with, people taking 70%, which again, I can't complain. So it's still nice that they give us a platform, and we appreciate that. We do. And so again, it's the Cash App thing, Bishop James Long. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, thank you, Nicole. I'm glad you're enjoying it. A lot of work went into taking those courses, creating those courses. So I have the 4 courses online: the angelology, paranormal studies, genealogy, and demonology. And that's a lot of work. And of course, trolls were really nasty, and they were really hateful. And of course, they downloaded all the videos, all the information, and they put it all over social media to attack me. It's $12.50 a class. Basically, I was charging $49 for 4 classes. So it's $12.50 a class. Anyway, so the trolls were being nasty. So I said, you know what, trolls? I'll just one-up you. I'll just make it for free. And that's exactly what I did. So there you are. I don't know. People have been asking me what's going to happen with TikTok. I don't know. It's sad to think that TikTok is going to go away, because I really enjoy the platform. I met some amazing people. We have a great community over here in TikTok, and it's sad to think that that's going to be taken away. I think look, I'm not trying to get political here. Whatever your party, whatever your affiliation, that's fine. Whoever you vote for, that's your opinion. That's your right. But I just think it's kind of disturbing that we have politicians who think that they can make the best decision for us. I'm an adult. And it's kind of like, if I want to use TikTok, that's my right. That's my choice. I don't need government to tell me, well, no, you can't use that. Well, you know what? I'm an adult. Let me make that decision. But nonetheless. Well, thank you, Captain Rowe. I appreciate that. So anyway, we'll see how things go with TikTok. I don't know. For people have been asking me where am I going to go if TikTok does go away, which is supposed to be in January, by the way. I see. I agree. I think that they really need to go over to YouTube. So I have a YouTube, and I also have Twitter. So and I have that little blue check mark on Twitter. It's amazing. I can get a blue check mark on Twitter, but I can't get on a TikTok. Go figure. But anyway, so Bishop J, the letter J long, that's on Twitter. Unfortunately, some bad person decided to steal my name, Bishop James Long, prior to me making it Twitter. And I've complained to Twitter about it, but I don't know anybody who works there. And I wish I can just get that to remove that person because he's stealing identity and he's being really nasty. But anyway, so Bishop J, the letter J long. I know. If I knew somebody who worked on X, I'd say, please let me have my name. Can I have my name, please? So if you go to bishopjameslong.com, you're going to see, and I'll get to the topic in just a second. But if you go to bishopjameslong.com and scroll down, you will see my outlets there. I don't really use Clapper because it just didn't take off. It just kind of like so those are my official accounts. So anyway, and I do use Rumble, Spreaker, of course. I use Spreaker. Everything that I have on Spreaker is all podcast. Every single show that I do is all podcasted. And the Clapper, I think I'm going to take that down. So anyway, yeah, it's just kind of weird. I haven't really kind of grabbed it, so I haven't really grabbed hold of it, so I don't know. Well, let's talk about our topic tonight. It is a topic that no matter where you are, no matter who you are in life, it's going to affect you. And that's death. And I know it's not a topic that a lot of people like to talk about. I get it. I'm going to see if we royalty-free. What kind of? We need to have a background music, don't we? I like background music. It's too quiet. So you can get on Truth. So royalty-free. Yeah, because then if I do that, then everybody will say that I'm a Trump lover. So it's kind of like, Right. So for TikTok, for Facebook and YouTube, this is royalty free. So don't have a cow because I'm using royalty free music. Okay. Okay. All right, let's talk about near-death experience. Because it is a topic that no matter where you are in life, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect me, and there's nothing we can do about it. No matter who we are, no matter what we do, we can't run away from it. We can't hide from it. We can't pretend that it doesn't exist. We are all going to experience death, and that's okay. That is okay. So tonight's show hopefully will give you some type of encouragement. In that I do not believe that death is it. I firmly disagree with that because I believe that there's something afterwards. And it's not so much a belief, it's just I have a strong feeling and even knowledge that there is. Because number one, I had a near-death experience. And so for many of you probably have heard the story again, but just indulge me because I'm going to tell it briefly again. So people who have never heard it before, because it wasn't really life-changing for me because I had already had a strong faith in God, but it's certainly, I think, just enforced my my belief. I don't know. I don't like this music. This music sucks. Mr. Producer, I'm trying to think of what type of royalty-free music. There we go. We'll try this one. Yeah, I don't like this. Some of this music is stupid. Then we'll do this. How's that? So let's get into the near-death experience. I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Jeffrey Long. And Dr. Long is the world-leading expert on near-death experiences. And I'm going to tell you a few things about what he said and some of the things that he's talked about that I think are very, very important. Okay? Judy Ann, it's fantastic. Judy Ann's going to be with us tonight, by the way. So I think it's, or no, I'm sorry, Sister Jennifer. All right, everybody, let's go into it. For those of you who don't know, Excuse me. Near-death experience is something that it's a phenomena that a lot of people debate, and they say that they maybe not agree with it or think that it's not real. Well, I'm here to tell you that they are incorrect. Yeah, relaxation. That's what I'm trying to do. So we got some ambient music here. So here's the report that I want to present to you. And again, for those of you in TikTok, I'll open it up the chat to everybody at the 8 p.m. Eastern or so, and then we'll talk about demonology. If you have any questions, we'll get to that. Although most people who have come to death say they remember nothing, around 10 to 20% later report that something happened. And I'm here to tell you, it truly is 100% without question, it happens. That something is often referred to a near-death experience, or NDE. And NDEs are actually relatively common. A Gallup poll published in 1982 led to an estimate that 12 to 15 million Americans personally experience an NDE. And that's important to note. Now, there is some controversy as to how to define a NDE, and researchers have not reached a consensus on how to define it. So the research that I think it makes a lot of sense is that an NDE must occur at the time of near death. So like physical compromise so severe that without improvement, permanent, irreversible death would occur. And NDEers are generally unconscious and often clinically dead. Now, NDEers, and again, when I say NDE, I'm talking about near-death experience. So NDEers may occur in adults and children. And for those of you who are immediately going to say, yeah, but they only occur in Christians, incorrect. They occur in atheists and believers. They occur in physicians, scientists, ministers, priests, all people of walks of life, age, race, etc. NDEs have been reported throughout history. The earliest recorded NDE was from the time of Plato and from cultures all around the world. So this is not a new phenomena that some people would like to make you believe. An important point is that you do not have to have physically died, that's with cessation of breathing and our heart function, to have an experience like a NDE. Experiences seemingly identical to NDE associated with clinical death have been reported in a variety of circumstances in which there was no associated life-threatening event. And such circumstances may include, for example, non-fatal traffic accidents, mountaineering accidents, childbirth, etc. And what's so powerful about this topic is that it affects you and me, no matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, no matter how famous you are, and no matter how a regular Joe you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many houses you have. It doesn't matter how many planes you have. It doesn't matter if you're in perfect health now or in terrible health now. This topic affects every single human being, no matter who you are. Because no matter how much money you put on, you going and getting fixed and taken care of, or having surgeries, or look, that's all fine. Or vitamins and exercise, that's all great to trying to live a long life. And there's nothing that's perfect. But here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to find eternal life in a pill. You and me, we're not escaping the grave. And that's just the way it is. And that's okay. Because death is something, for a lot of people, they're terrified by it. They're really afraid of what death means. So this topic, when I talk about Bigfoot or UFOs, some people are like, it doesn't really relate to me. This topic, it does. NDEs are one part of a spectrum of significant human experience, spiritual experiences. Oh, well, thank you there, Jason. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you're here, bud. So what is clear is that NDE, and this is, please understand this, near death experiences, they are not dreams. They are not hallucinations. They are not mental or a psychiatric dysfunction. They are very real. Thank you. They are very real experiences. Virtually all NDE experiencers felt their experience was real, significant, and meaningful. And I'm here to tell you that is 100% true. And when I asked directly if the experience was dreamlike in any way, virtually all NDE experiencers said no. And I'll talk a little bit about Dr. Jeffrey Long in a moment. NDE has been extensively documented in medical literature, with hundreds of scholarly articles regarding NDE published in the medical scientific literature. Skeptics of NDE have not been able to find a plausible biological or physiologic explanation for NDE. This failure on the part of skeptics explains the large number of varied and generally unaccepted alternative explanations. And we'll talk about the skeptics. People say, well, it's just this. Well, it's just this. Nope. The reasons there are so many skeptical explanations of NDE is that there are no one or several physiological, biological, cultural explanations. The level of consciousness during the experience is generally described as fully alert. And often, as one experiencer described it, far more conscious than humanly normal. And these experiences seem quite apart from anything encountered in daily living. Now, there's a difference between an out-of-body experience and a near-death experience. And people get that confused. You know, sometimes when you go into meditation, remote viewing, by the way, and people say, oh, remote, well, people say a remote viewing is evil. It's the work of the devil. Well, actually, remote viewing was a part of a military. Mr. Producer, I want to find someone who's an expert on remote viewing, and I want to interview them. I really want to get that, because I've talked to one person who actually worked with the military who taught remote viewing and who was a part of that program. And I think that is absolutely, that would be amazing, but that's intentional. That is an intentional act. A near-death experience is something that happens from a medical situation. So I think the similarities and dissimilarities of NDE experiences are pretty amazing. While some experiences have a detailed and prolonged experience, others have a shorter and less dramatic experience. And all the NDE experiences are significant and important. So no two NDE experiences are identical. But within a group of experiences, certain patterns become evident. And I want to let me share some of these things. Remote viewing is this. So what they did in the military, and I don't really know if they're still doing it. They did at one time, and they unclassified some documents. So what they would do is they would put they would say, okay, this is a location. And they put a location, let's say the Eiffel Tower, a picture of the Eiffel Tower in an envelope. None of the participants could see it. And then they would put it like on the desk or something where you can focus on it. And the people in the room would try to focus on that particular picture and then remote view it while they are there in that room. So they would draw a picture, or or whatever comes to their mind, and they would draw it. And then afterwards, they say, okay, what did you draw? And they would show the person. And then after it's all over, the person who was teaching how to do it took it out of the envelope and said, it's, the Eiffel Tower. What's interesting is that some people were pretty accurate, which is quite fascinating. As a matter of fact, when I talked to the individual, and I think he's since passed, but when I had several years ago, I had him on the show. He had actually said that he had worked with the military to catch Osama bin Laden, and they used these NDEs, and not NDE, out of body experience, remote viewing. So it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. No, I didn't talk to God when I had a near death experience, but I will talk. I will talk about what happened. But that'll be a little later. Okay, so NDE experiencers describe one or more of the following, and this is not necessarily in this order, but many people who have had near death experience. Again, this is different than out of body experience. It's not the same thing. So please understand the difference. Near death experience is that you've had a situation where you were either dead or very close to death. An out of body experience can be done also through meditation and through other techniques. Those are two different things. First, many people who have had a near death experience, there's difficulty in explaining it. These extraordinary experiences may be difficult to describe in words, and I would agree with that. And again, I'll tell you my story in just a second. Most NDEs or near-death experience stories, they're associated life-threatening event. So in other words, there is generally physical compromise to the point of unconsciousness or even clinically apparent death. There's a separation of consciousness from the body. So viewing their surroundings from a vantage point other than the physical body, some may see their bodies in often frantic resuscitation efforts. They're generally able to hear what is being said, often to considerable embarrassment of medical personnel involved in the resuscitation. See, in the out of body state, they are not able to interact physically with anything or anyone. But with an NDE, there is often a sense of peace and virtually never discomfort. Also, with many times people who have NDEs, the ability to see and hear details of ongoing earthly events while being unconscious. See, this is where the skeptics can't explain this. And these details, which may even include a pronouncement of death, they're often later confirmed by others who are generally astonished and mystified that the experiencer was aware of these events while unconscious. As a matter of fact, there have been a few near-death experiences where the NDE, they were on the way to the morgue, or actually in the morgue, when they regained their consciousness after their NDEs. And there was one survey done, and it asked, did you observe or hear anything regarding people or events during your experience that could be verified later? 33% said yes. With the NDEs, there's an experiencing intensely powerful emotions. I will absolutely 100% confirm this. 100%. No doubt about it. These emotions may include ecstasy, fear, peace, calm, and most NDEs are associated with very pleasant emotions, but around 5% are frightening. Some are associated with emotions of fear, judgment, emptiness. It should be noted that positive life changes are usually associated with frightening experiences. So the positive life changes are so significant that most frightening NDE experiencers later say they are glad they actually have the experience. Oh, wow. So Anne Marie says, when my father had a heart attack while under cardiac arrest, he was told he would not die yet. When he woke again after being shocked, he asked the nurses who said it, and nobody did. Interesting. So listen, there's also, with people who've had an NDE, many people have described it as hearing distinctive sounds, and that absolutely was for me. Experiencers may report hearing a variety of unusual sounds or noise, and they may be described as pleasant, musical, buzzing, or ringing. Some people say passing into and through a dark tunnel. I did not experience that. But many people who had an NDE, and folks, remember, I'll say it again, NDEs are not necessarily as the same as out-of-body experience. And I'll explain that in just a second, because I think we need to. How many of you have had an out-of-body experiences? Anybody? I'm just kind of, you have? So there's a lot of people who have. So a lot of people have. Uh, I'm late. It's basically, oh, yes, I did. I did have a near death experience, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So let's go unintentional after your daughter was born. Okay, so people say yes with even with self like hypnosis. Now, there's a lot of people. Yeah, there are a lot more. See, this is the thing. It's a lot more common than you think. And I think this is why I wanted to talk about this topic, because there are people who've had this and they're afraid to speak up because, they don't want to be mocked or made fun of. And, but again, for those of you who are on TikTok, I'll open the chat open to everyone a little bit later, probably around 8 to 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Right now, I'm giving a lecture on near death experience. So let's talk about an out of body experience and a near death experience, because I think we have to explain the difference. An out of body experience, otherwise known as OBE, it is a phenomenon in which a person perceives themselves as being separated from their physical body. OBEs can occur in various circumstances, such like during meditation, sleep, when a person is under extreme stress, or even relaxation. They're not necessarily linked to life-threatening situations. And the people experiencing OBEs, out-of-body experience, often report a sensation of floating or flying above their bodies, can sometimes perceive their surroundings. However, these experiences are subjective. Now, a near-death experience is a profound psychological event with transcendent and mystical elements. It typically occurs when a person is close to death or have clinically died, or they're in a situation of grave danger. NDEs are often reported by people who have been revived after clinical death, or who have been in close contact with death due to a serious illness or like surgery, something like this. Common features of NDEs, near death experience, include feelings of peace, out of body experiences, moving through a tunnel, encountering a bright light, meeting deceased loved ones or spiritual beings. Unlike out of body experiencers, NDEs often have transformative impacts on the person's values and the outlook of life. So it's a much deeper experience, in my opinion. Some people who have had NDEs talk about passing into and through a dark tunnel. I did not have that. The tunnel is variably described regarding in its appearance and size. What's interesting about this is in all the reports on this website, no one reports that in this tunnel it feels like a claustrophobic sense. And movement in the tunnel may be described as relatively slow or extremely fast. And many people talk about with NDEs that there's an encounter with a bright mystical light. I did see this. And the light may be without form, often perceived as a being, either a spiritual being or a departed loved one. And there is usually an intense feeling of love and joy and peace that's associated with this encounter, 100%. And by the way, a light was seen by 65% of people who have had near-death experiences. And many people have talked about meeting others with their NDE experience. So the experiencer may encounter other spiritual beings or departed loved ones. By the way, for those of you who are worried, is your deceased little fur babies in heaven? Yes, they are. The Bible makes it very clear that animals will be in heaven. Deceased pets have been encountered, as well as other animals, with people who have experienced NDEs. And the encounter with others is generally described as joyous and loving. Some people have had a life review. So at times, experiencers are presented with a rapid panoramic review of their lives. This life review may include brief reviews of moments of their past life. It could be extremely detailed. It's a presentation of how their experiences, their actions affected others. I did not experience this. Also, some people who have had a near-death experience talk about seeing or visiting beautiful locations, like beautiful cities or libraries or gardens. Um, Others talk about a sense of knowing universal order and purpose. And then there is a reaching. Many people talk about reaching a boundary. So the boundary may be like a gate, a cliff, a fence, water, or some other barrier which the experiencer perceives may not cross if they are to return to the body. People who have, by the way, who have had near-death experience, 31% said that they have had this boundary. That I did not experience that. Some people say there was an awareness of future life events. So some experiencers will talk about what's called a flash forward in time because they witness themselves in events at a future time. And I didn't experience that. About 23% of people who were uh, surveyed who've had near death say that they've experienced that. Many people who've had a near death experience will say that there was a decision they had to make as to whether or not they're going to return or stay. Well, that wasn't with me. The decision to return to the physical body may be voluntary or involuntary. And for those of you, a lot of people are asking, well, tell your story. I will. I promise you, I will tell you my story. I absolutely 1,000,000% had a near-death experience where I clinically died. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But first, I want to give the lecture, and then I'll tell you my story. Some people have that decision where they can either stay or they can go. So if voluntary, the decision to return is often made following discussion with spiritual beings. So whether voluntary or involuntary, feelings of sadness or loss, depression, anxiety may follow to return to this life. And returning to the body, often, but not always, feelings of pain associated with like life-threatening injury can return. Some people have experienced special gifts when they're able to return after having a near-death experience. And I'll just keep that to myself if I've experienced that. But commonly described as a marked increase in intuitive ability. Another common phenomenon is electrical sensitivity, where NDEers discover like their watches stop and nearby electrical devices, often lights go out. What was interesting about this is there's never really been a large-scale scientific study of this phenomenon. Some NDEers were surveyed, and the question was, did you have any psychic, paranormal, or special gifts following the experience you did not have prior to the experience? And 45% said yes. So they had nothing, something that was new to them. Well, thank you there, K-Bugs. And also, many people have talked about changes of attitudes and beliefs. So I've always had a very strong faith in the afterlife, a very strong belief in the afterlife. My NDE experience didn't really validate that because I didn't need anything to validate it. But my NDE experience, I think it's meant to help people who might be struggling with, is there something afterwards? And that's why I tell my story. Many people who've had a near-death experience say that there was a changes of attitudes and beliefs. It's like a belief in God, a loss of fear of death, and more loving interaction with others. Some NDE experiencers establish more loving relationships. And other NDE experiencers find their change in attitudes and beliefs may alter previously established interpersonal relationships. I mean, a complete turnaround. What was interesting, changes in attitudes or beliefs following the NDE, they were described by 85% of the people who've had these experiences. It changes your life. I don't think it necessarily changed my life. I think it just affirmed my belief in knowing that my mom is in heaven. So Dr. Jeffrey Long, who I've interviewed many, many times, I've asked if I could use his information on the website to talk and want to do these presentations. He's absolutely very cordial, very kind, gave permission. But let me tell you this. He came up, Dr. Long is a medical doctor. He's a world leading expert on near-death experiences. And these are brilliant. The people who the naysayers who say that this doesn't exist, there are 9 lines of evidence, according to Dr. Jeffrey Long, no relation to me, but Dr. Jeffrey Long, who presented evidence of the afterlife. So the science of near-death experience that support the reality of near-death experience and their consistent message that there is an afterlife. And so Dr. Long created these 9 lines of evidence that he believes conclusively argue that NDEs are not just an opinion. They're not a figment of your imagination. He says these 9 lines are proof that life exists as after death. This is what he says. First, the first line, the first proof of evidence that argues that these things are real is there is crystal clear consciousness. He's 100% right. The level of consciousness and all alertness during near-death experience is usually even greater than that experience in everyday life. Even though NDEs generally occur when a person is unconscious or clinically dead. This high level of consciousness, while physically unconscious, is medically inexplicable. And additionally, the elements of NDEs generally follow the same consistent and logical order in all age groups and around the world, which refutes the possibility that NDEs have any relation to dreams or hallucination. In other words, what he's saying is, if this was just a dream or hallucination, then the EDE experience, or near-death experience, the NDEs would be so varied that there wouldn't be a common denominator. There wouldn't be anything that tie it all together. But there are so many things that people from all around the world experience the same profound thing. So therefore, if it was just a dream or hallucination, that wouldn't be the case. And he says also the second one is realistic out-of-body experience. Yep, I agree. He says out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, are one of the most common elements of NDEs. What NDEers see and hear of earthly events in the out-of-body state is almost always realistic. When the NDEers or other laters seek to verify what was observed or heard during the NDE, the out-of-body experience observations are almost always confirmed as completely accurate. Even if the out-of-body experience observations during the NDE included events far from the physical body, far from any possible sensory awareness of the NDEs. This fact alone rules out the possibility that near-death experiences are related to any known brain functioning or sensory awareness. And this also refutes the possibility that NDEs are unrealistic fragments of memory from the brain. He talks about number 3, heightened senses. Not only are heightened senses reported by most who have experienced NDEs, normal or supernormal vision has occurred in those who with significantly impaired vision and even legal blindness. Listen, several people who have been totally blind since birth have reported highly visual near-death experiences. This, my friends, is medically inexplicable, where they can see color and describe it. Number 4, consciousness during anesthesia. This happened to me. Now listen carefully. Many NDEs, near-death experiences, occur while under general anesthesia at a time when any conscious experience is impossible. And again, this is from a medical doctor. So this is not from somebody on YouTube. This is a medical doctor who's trained in this. Some skeptics claim that these NDEs may be the result of too little anesthesia. But that ignores the fact that some NDEs result from anesthesia overdose. And additionally, the description of a NDE differs greatly from that of one who experienced anesthetic awareness. So the content of NDEs that occur under general anesthesia is essentially indistinguishable from NDEs that did not occur under general anesthesia. So this further the strong evidence that NDEs are occurring completely independently from the functioning of the physical brain. Also, he talks about number 5, perfect playback. So life reviews and near-death experiences include real events that previously took place in the lives of those having the experience, even if the events were forgotten or happened before they were old enough to remember. That did not happen to me. Family reunions, number 6. During an NDE, the people encountered are virtually always deceased and are usually relatives of the person having the experience. Sometimes they are even relatives who died before the NDE was even born. Were the NDE only a product of memory fragments, they would almost certainly include far more living people, including those with whom they had more recently interacted. There have been near-death experience cases where people had this an NDE and they came back and they never met their grandfather. They never even saw a picture of the grandfather, had no idea what the grandfather looked like. And they came back and told the family what the grandfather was wearing, the fact the grandfather smoked a particular cigar that he absolutely loved, and that there was a wonderful chair that he always sat on, and they described it in detail. And they were never told this, and they never saw a picture of the grandfather, but yet they were able to describe the clothes that the grandfather wore, and the cigar and the chair. That's impossible. You cannot argue that was a dream. Also, children's experiences. So this is number 7 out of the 9. Children's experiences. The near-death experiences of children, including very young kids who are too young to have developed concepts of death and religion or near-death experiences, are essentially identical to those of older children and adults. And so this refutes the possibility of the content of NDEs as produced by pre-existing beliefs or cultural conditioning. And worldwide consistency. Near-death experiences appear remarkably consistent around the world and across many different religions and cultures. Near-death experience from non-Western countries are incredibly similar to those that occur in the Western countries. And then the after effects. That is very common for people to experience major life changes when you have an NDE. These after effects are often powerful, lasting, life-enhancing, and changes generally follow a consistent pattern. It really is just an absolute beautiful, I think, a fact that actually occurs. This is not something that is a pie-in-the-sky nonsense. For those of you who don't know Dr. Long, he has had thousands and thousands of near-death experiences that he's put together on this website. I'll talk about it in a minute. He is a physician. He's a radiation oncologist, and it's medical use of radiation to treat cancer. And he is in Louisiana, and he is absolutely convinced that there's an afterlife. And when the disaster in Haiti, this scientific evidence of the afterlife and its message of reassurance is more important now than ever. All these terrible disasters that are occurring, and people are talking about it. And remember, there's crystal clear consciousness, realistic out-of-body experiences, heightened senses, consciousness during anesthesia, perfect playback. By the way, under propofol, it is a 0% chance. 0 that you can dream. So anybody who thinks this is a dream is preposterous. You can't. You do not go into REM. That's rapid eye movement. So there's no such thing as dreaming under propofol. It cannot exist. I tell you, Maria, there are quite a few cases of people who have had near-death experiences that were negative. And I talked about that earlier, just a minute ago, about the amount of people. It's generally low, but people have experienced, even atheists, people from all walks of life have experienced a negative, and it has completely and totally changed their life. And certainly we see this. Keep in mind, There are people who have had, who've passed away, said nothing has happened. And I get that. I understand that. But there is a level of consciousness that people cannot explain. And many times, remember, when you're talking about a near-death experience, associated with a life-threatening event. And it's generally it's a physical compromise of the point of unconsciousness. And even sometimes, like I said, death. So let's go into this, and let me talk a little bit about my personal experience, and then we're going to go into, well, you know what? Let me tell these people's story real quick, and then I'll tell you what happened to me. This is from Beyond the Light, and it's a very good book. It's a very good book, by the way, called Beyond the Light, and copyright by PMH Atwater. And so it's really pretty powerful. There is a case of Robin Michelle of Texas City in Texas, and illustrates the overwhelming sense of love experiences often encounter in the light. See, her near-death experience took place in a hospital when she was between 1 and 2 months of age. So born prematurely, and with hyaline membrane disease, she was not experienced. She's not, I'm sorry, expected to live. And she says, my first visual memory was looking forward and seeing a brilliant light, almost like directly looking at the sun. The strange thing that I could see my feet in front of me as if I were floating upward in a vertical position. And I do not remember passing through a tunnel or anything like that, just a floating in the beautiful light. A tremendous amount of warmth and love came to the light. And there was standing in the light, a shape like a normal human being, but with no distinct facial features, had a masculine presence. The light I described seemed to emanate from this figure. Light ray shone all around him. She says, I felt very protective and safe in love. And this is the fact that she remembers this at such a young age is amazing. There are so many cases that truly absolutely amazing. There was one experience where someone had passed away during surgery, and the individual remembers waking up and floating. She was looking down at her body. She recognized it was her body, but it didn't really affect her. It didn't bother her. And she rose even further, and there's a great big huge light that they have, they shine on your body during surgery. She rose high enough to where she could see like 5 or 6 numbers right above it, because those machines have like serial numbers. And for some reason, she just kept thinking to herself, I need to remember this. I need to remember these numbers. So she was floating, and she remembered those 4 or 5 little numbers, letters, or whatever they were. And she remembers seeing her loved ones, and she was told it's not time. You got to go back. And she did. But as soon as she came back, she kept repeating those numbers. She kept repeating them over and over and over. And the nurse finally said, why do you keep repeating this? And she says those are the numbers that's on that light. So they checked. And lo and behold, the numbers that she said were on top of the light. There was no way she could have seen that. There's no way. She is lying on the operating table. The light is on her body. She's unconscious, and now yet she's able to go above the light on the other side, on the back of the light, and was able to tell the numbers or the letters. You see, that right there proves without question. Oh, I got to do a little puzzle on TikTok. There you go. That proves without question. There's 100%. Yeah, I just did that. Linda, I just did. Could you tell me this science and personal experience only, or is there a script? Yeah, that's the 9 lines that I just said, that I just talked about, that proves that these things are not fake. These are not. If you want to go to a website, I'll give you the website in just a second. But again, Dr. Long says there are 9, without question, there's 9 lines of evidence, scientific evidence, that clearly demonstrate that this is not a dream. And again, he's a medical doctor. Crystal clear consciousness, because you shouldn't have crystal clear consciousness when you're under anesthesia. Realistic out of body experience. It's not a dream. You remember. Heightened senses. Consciousness during anesthesia. That doesn't exist. You have no consciousness during anesthesia. You cannot dream. And people say, well, it's because you don't have enough anesthesia. Incorrect, because there are people who had too much anesthesia and they still had an NDE. So that throws that argument. Perfect playback is number 5. Family reunions have happened where people have had an NDE and met loved ones that they didn't even know. And I just explained it, how one of the people saw their grandfather and they never even met their grandfather. Children's experiences are identical worldwide. There's also worldwide consistency, and there's after effects. So there's plenty of evidence. So let's talk a little bit about my experience and what happened to me. Nobody is going to tell me that I did not have a near-death experience. Thank you. Nobody. Look, I know what a dream is. I'm not ignorant. I know what a dream is, and I know what reality is. I think anybody with half a brain can tell you there's a difference. I had a scope done because I needed for a procedure. And I remember the doctor, a phenomenal surgeon, the anesthesiologist, a fantastic anesthesiologist, never had any ever problems with anesthesia before, never, ever, never. So it's no big deal. They use propofol. We're good to go. And then I remember he was, I'm like, can you count down? Can you count down? Was it 10? I remember 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then after that, it was pretty much foggy. The next thing I remember was waking up. I was fully alert. 100% alert. But again, I know what a dream is. And I would swear on a stack of Bibles. So this is, I was more alert than I am now. And I remember, though, there was a horrible, loud noise behind me. It was just annoying. I thought, what is that noise? That's kind of, I couldn't talk. I didn't say anything. I couldn't hear my voice. I just thought, what is that? That's kind of annoying. And then I looked over to the left, and there was the surgeon. I didn't connect it that was the surgeon that I knew. I just knew that he was frantic. I mean, he was really frantic. I mean, he had a look of like, oh, dear God, what's going on? And he was really stressed. And what was frustrating to me is it never dawned on me that I was the patient. Never. The only thing that I remember about, I wanted to help this guy because he was so panicked that I wanted to say, hey, dude, it's going to be okay. Whatever you're going through, it's going to be all right. I was actually wanting to communicate with him to try to calm him down because he was just panicked. But again, I remember that noise it was annoying. But then the noise kind of faded away. And right behind him, I saw the absolute brightest light I have ever seen in my life. It was too bright to even look at. It was just that bright. It was like someone shining, when someone puts a flashlight in your eyes, multiply that times 1,000. I mean, it was just like, whoa, that's too bright. That's way too bright. But it was right behind him, and then it started dimming a little bit to the point where I could look behind him, and I saw a figure walk up right behind him, and I noticed it was a woman, and she came. As a matter of fact, he was facing me. It was on his right side. So she came there, and I looked, and I thought, oh, that is a beautiful. I mean, she looked like an angel. She looked like an angel. That's the only way I could describe it. And I looked closer, and I looked closer, and the joy. And I mean, I can't words. There are no words. Radiating incredible happiness and joy in the face, in the eyes. It was just, I don't know. And as I looked closer, I thought, that's Mom. And then I recognized her. That's Mom. And beautiful, just the joy, man. And my mom worked in the medical field. And so the doctor was still panicking. And then she placed her hand on his shoulders. He took a deep breath. I mean, he was almost like he had taken, like something had taken his breath away. And he did something. He motioned something to somebody behind me whom I did not see. I couldn't turn around for some reason. It never dawned on me that I was the patient. But he said something. I had no idea what he said. I didn't even hear any words. But I know he was telling somebody behind me something. And then that noise stopped. And then he seemed to calm down, compose himself. And my mom then looked at me. She smiled, she nodded, and she faded away. When I came to in the recovery room, my sister Jennifer was there. And when I finally came to consciousness, I saw her and I was like, Jennifer, I saw mom. I saw her. And Jennifer's like, the whole hospital knows you saw mom. You were screaming it at the top of your lungs from the operating room to the recovery room that you saw mom. You wouldn't stop. You kept saying, I saw mom. I saw mom. You wouldn't stop. I don't remember that. I have no memory of that at all because I was still under anesthesia. So apparently I was screaming it that I saw her. I was over and over and over and over. What was interesting is that the nurse, who that was in the operating room, when it was time for me to be taken down to the car, she came to me and said, "Okay, are you ready? We're going to wheel you down." I was like, "Well, no, I'm fine." She said, "No, it's a hospital. We have to wheel you down." And then I even asked her, I said, "Well, this is kind of strange. I mean, you guys have porters here. Porters are people, they're the ones who wheel. She's an operating nurse. She has a lot of work to do, in the operating room. And why are you wheeling me down? That doesn't make sense." That's what a porter. She wouldn't answer any questions. So then we got into the elevator, and I said, "Listen, I know something happened, and you know something happened because you were in that room. Because I know for a fact I saw my mom, and you know that I saw her because you heard me say it. So I want to know what happened. What happened?" And she said, "You have to speak to your surgeon, sir. I can't talk to you about that." And I asked her, "But something happened. I can't talk to you about that event." And so I just dropped it. And then she wheeled me to the car. I experienced, I talked to my sister Emily. And because I described mom, because I described what she looked like. And here's what was fascinating about this. I've never seen this picture in my life. Never. And so I described her as like, this is what she looked like, but she was radiating, just radiating. And then she got a picture out and she said, "You mean this?" And my jaw dropped because it's like, that's what she looked like, but a little different, slightly different. So that's what she looked like. That's the picture. That's how, because I've never seen this picture in my life. So, and I always have it right here. So I talked to Dr. Long about my experience, and he said, "James, you absolutely 100%, you were clinically dead. You had a near-death experience. No question about it." I said, "Well, how do you know this?" He said, "Well, there's a couple of things I want you to think about." He said, "You probably had some type of cardiac issue, or oxygen level plummeted. Something happened to where you clinically died." And he said, "The fact that your mother worked in the medical field, and that as soon as when he said this, I was doing a live show with him and a live interview, and I just stopped because I thought I'd never even thought of this." And he said, "When you had that event and your mom placed her hand on the doctor's shoulder, she was in the medical field. She was guiding him as to what to do because he had lost you." And so that the fact that the doctor took a huge breath like that, he absolutely believes that she was there guiding him and comforting him. And I was like, that's very powerful. And then he said, the fact that you were screaming that you saw your mom from the operating room to the recovery room, you could not have faked that. It is medically impossible. Because when you are going from the surgery room, directly from the surgery room to the recovery room, you're not fully conscious. You're not aware. So yeah, a person who was fully aware could fake it, pretend, but you could not have faked it. So that did not come from a place of, oh, I'm going to get attention. That came from a place of something so powerful happened to you that you had to tell everybody, and you could, and the fact that you kept going on and on and on and on, that event was very real. And I know it was very real. I experienced it. So I am telling you without question, and my mom, by the way, she passed away in 2014. But I'm telling you, I saw my mom. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, there is no such thing as dreaming in propofol. It doesn't exist. And the fact that I did see her, the fact that I absolutely was screaming that I saw mom from the operating room to the recovery room, all the way to the crowd, I wouldn't stop. My sister said, you just kept screaming it. First of all, that's not in my nature. I'm pretty much a reserved person. But the fact that I was screaming and my sister could hear it from the recovery room, that is how loud it was. That's how loud I was. And that's how persistent I was. Listen, I'm telling all of you now, every single one of you, those of you who are afraid of death, who are fearful of thinking, is this it? I am telling you, it is not. This is not the last stop. And I'm telling you that right now. I'm not selling a book. I'm not selling anything to you right now. I'm not selling anything. I'm telling you the story because it happened to me. And although my faith in Christ has never wavered, my faith in the afterlife has never been in question or never wavered. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you. It's interesting. My mom's name was Shirley. So the fact, I'm telling you, I saw my mom. And I know you will see your loved ones in that time. That experience, the joy that was in my mom's face, the happiness, I can't describe it. What is this life for? To love people, to show compassion, to help one another. We are all fellow travelers to the grave. So the point of this life is not to harm, not to troll, not to break people down. The point of this life is to help one another. Because if you want to experience God, that's where you're going to experience. When you help and serve and help and lift each other up, not break people down. Because if you're doing that, if you're spending your time trolling people, if you're spending your time trying to break people's spirit, that falls under ordinary demonic activity. You cannot justify going around and trolling people and saying nasty things. You can't justify it. Because I'll tell you this, a person who has inner peace, a person who is filled with tranquility, they don't troll others. Trolling is an outward manifestation of internal struggle. And when you go and you hurt people and you try to break people down and say nasty, horrible things, you're really projecting the insecurities, the hate, whatever it is that you're dealing with onto them. And so that is the point of this life, is to help one another. And I promise you, when you do that, your life will be fulfilled. So that's the story. That's the near-death experience presentation that I wanted to bring to you guys and talk to you. And I'll open up TikTok in just a second. Friends, I'm telling you, as God is my witness, I saw my mom, and I absolutely saw that bright light, and I saw the joy in her face, in her eyes. I cannot describe it. That I can't describe. Because when I say joy, it's not enough. When I say happiness, it's not enough. That doesn't even compare 1% of how I can project it, how I can describe it. There's no words to describe it. None. Oh no, it's not a matter of belief. This is not a belief, my friends. This actually happened. My sister Jennifer was there. So yeah, you don't. It's not a belief. I was screaming. I saw mom from the operating room to the recovery room, and I was still on anesthesia, and I could not have faked that. And that was confirmed by Dr. Jeffrey Long, who is a medical doctor. Can't happen. Can't fake it. So something pretty miraculous happened to me on that day, and I'll never, ever, I'll never will forget it. And when people talk to me about the fear of death, then I tell them my story, and I tell them what I experienced, and that seems to give people some peace of mind. Yeah. Okay. Let's open up the chat and let's see how people. TikTok, just be kind. Just be kind. If you're going to troll, you'll be blocked. So just be kind. So, yeah, it was powerful. It was a powerful experience. Very, very powerful. So you don't have to. There's no fear. You don't have to. You do not have to fear. You do not have to fear death. Let me tell you something. As a chaplain for the hospital, I've experienced quite a bit. And so every one of us, we all have that date. We all have the date. We're going to leave this earth. And you don't have to fear it. You don't have to fear it. Well, I believe that when we pass away, we meet God. And I think that we are spiritually there. Of course, Revelation talks about that we will be restored. We'll have a new body. So, thank you. Thank you, George, for reminding me. The website is nderf.org. Folks, my friends, that is, winter, I'm sure. That's the world's largest collection of near-death experience stories called ND. So NDD as in dog, ERF.org. Thank you, Bill. And that Dr. Jeffrey Long, he is the owner of the website, a medical doctor, and I had him on the show 2 or 3 times. And so he has a large collection of people who clinically died and have come back. So. Father-in-law who's in stage 4 cancer in hospice, he's scared of. Oh, Rena, I would. Sure, I would speak. So Rena says, I wish you could speak to my father-in-law who has stage 4 cancer and is on hospice. He's scared to death. I'll call him. I mean, you just have to send me a message on Facebook. Thank you, Monica. Yeah. Well, I think certainly we will be. See, look, guys. Let me just say something, because a lot of people talk about judging. Will be judged? I don't worship a God that has a clipboard that says you did this wrong and this wrong and that wrong and that wrong and this wrong. I don't believe that. I don't follow that type of God. And I'm not going to preach that type of God, because that's not a God that I know. That is not a God that I worship. A God that I worship reminds me of the prodigal son story. Remember where the young son squandered his inheritance on some pretty bad stuff, which would have been the most insulting thing you could do to your father back then. So remember, when Jesus was telling that story and telling people what he did with that inheritance, that would have been you couldn't have done anything more disrespectful to your father. That would have been disrespecting the father's name, unforgivable. But yet, remember, it says in Scripture that the father was always looking down the road for his son to return. Always. So that is the God that I worship. I don't fear going to hell, because that is not where my soul. That's not where I am. That's not where I want to be. And so I think there's just too many people who use fire, hell, and brimstone. And I disagree. Well, I think we are judged according, but I also think the judgment doesn't mean, okay, well, you did this wrong and you did this wrong, and what you get a C here, well, you get a D here, you get a. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I don't follow it. No, keep in mind, look, we've got to remember that time and space does not exist after life. Time and space, heaven is not restricted to time or space. Time or space is something that we exist within because we are corporal beings. So in other words, it is a certain time. It's 8:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't be in two places at once. So I'm here. But within heaven, it doesn't, because heaven exists outside of time and space. It's not restricted to that. It's hard to conceptualize that. So if my website, bishopjameslong.com, if you go to my website, bishopjameslong.com, scroll down and you'll see where it says social media links. And that's where you go. Make sure you follow me on YouTube. Make sure, guys, follow me on YouTube, because if TikTok gets banned, you need to make sure you subscribe. You don't subscribe, just follow. Just click the follow link. That's it. So anyway, but it's a powerful testimony, and I think near death experiences. So yeah, I do. I have a podcast. Every single show that I do is podcasted. Everything from Bible study to night prayer that we have Monday through Friday to this show to Saturday show. It's all on Spreaker. If you go to bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to where it says Spreaker. If you click it, it takes you to my profile. Every single show is there. Every one. It's all podcasted. And it's free. No charge. It's all free. So, well, I appreciate that, Mary. Thank you. I understand people. Listen, I get it. I talk to people all the time about death and their fear of death. I get it. I understand. But I promise you guys, I'm not here. I'm not, trying to blow smoke. I'm telling you, this stuff, you should not fear it. You should not fear it. Because if heaven is only 1%, just 1% of what I saw when I saw Mom, I want to be there now. I'm ready to go. Because when I saw my mom and I saw the joy, and that's still a terrible word because it doesn't really encapsulate the true meaning. But when I saw that, I saw man, if that's what heaven, I want to be there. You have no reason to fear. No reason to fear. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Okay. So, and by the way, I do have several articles that we're going to talk about too. So, but if you have questions, if you want to, I'm more than willing to answer to the best of my ability. Yeah, that's right. Have no fear. Who was that? That was, she owns the Bel Air house, Kristen Lee. Kristen Lee. Hell has no power. Hell has absolutely no power. None. Emil is asking, does Jesus like all people? No. Nope. Jesus loves all people. Oh, well, Frank, here's the deal. If you're going to have a conversation with me, we'll have a conversation. But if you're going to be disrespectful and troll, then I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Because we don't play that game here. We don't. We have no desire to play this trolling, narcissistic, I demand you answer all my questions. We don't play that game here. We are adults, and this is not the platform to do that, not play those nonsense games. Those nonsense, we're just not interested. Not. So if you want to have an intellectual, theological conversation, love to have one. But you cannot come to me with that type of attitude, because that'll just get you blocked. We're not interested. This is not the platform. Just not. Okay, bro, you have your answer. You do have your answer, and it's called block. Goodbye. Now you have it. See. So yeah, Frank was telling me that hell has the power. Okay. Well, I tell you what, the people, demons we know are going to be there. I assure you. Um, what a dumbass statement. I can't even. Wow, how someone could even think that way. Hmm, pretty pathetic. I mean, really, seriously, that just boy. Okay. Well, yeah, I understand that, Agnes. I understand. I get it. I think yes. I think when we pass away, we are absolutely we meet God. And yeah, but see, I understand he needs God, but here's the deal. What I'm not going to do is allow a narcissist to come into the chat room and try to take control of the entire conversation and thinking that no one else here that's matter who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and Rumble and KGRDB radio and Spreaker and TikTok. So that's what happens. So narcissists will come in and they will start being nasty and unruly, thinking that the entire thing is about them and that everybody else is second. Everybody else who cares. That is a narcissist. And I don't engage with narcissists at all because it's very unhealthy. And not only that, but they have no desire for real conversations. Rather, the only thing that they have is the desire to tell everyone else to be quiet, and everything that they have and say should be first, and that the entire show should be focused primarily on what they have to say and think. So we're adults here. We don't. Well, anybody can be. Yeah, certainly narcissists can be possessed, but so can people who are not narcissists. So anyway, I think narcissism. Well, narcissistic personality disorder is mental. It's not. It is it an individual who tries to hijack everything, no matter what you're doing, and place everything onto what they say. So unforgiveness. Well, it depends when you say panda. Well, thank you, Marty. Mary, I appreciate that. So Scott says, I saw your cousin who passed and saw in the chair. Wow. If the light is God or Satan playing a trick, that's a good question. I will tell you, what I saw was absolutely not Satan. Captain Ribeye is asking, with regard to, do we know if the light is God or Satan playing a trick? I can tell you that what I saw, uh, Satan is very, he's certainly intelligent, but he can never produce that type of joy because that type of joy does not resonate within him. So that's yeah, for my experience, no. Should we forgive the narcissist? Forgiveness, sure, we can sure forgive, but the forgiveness does not mean that okay, I forgive you, so now I no longer set boundaries. So we have the right to set boundaries and say, you know what, you're not going to come in and disrespect. You're just not going to happen. So, uh, should we be buried or cremated? Does it matter? Justin is asking, should we be cremated? Well, in the Roman Catholic Church, and again, I don't know what your feeling, what your faith is. In the Roman Catholic Church, in the Catechism, it teaches that people who are cremated should not have their ashes separated. However, it is my personal belief that I don't think it matters because the body, our body, is done. It's finished. It turns to dust. So I don't think that's going to be an impediment as to whether or not you can enter heaven because several members, you have an urn here, another member has an urn. I don't think that's an issue. So, and there's a lot of people who believe that. So, yeah, Sherry, I agree. Okay. A Jesuit priest is a Roman Catholic. Why does abuse people see? I don't understand. Doreen, you'll have to explain that. Is it the devil's disciples among us? Oh, absolutely. Alice, let me ask you. Alice says, "Is the devil's disciples among us?" Let me just say this: people want me to prove that the devil exists. Have you seen the hate online? Have you seen it? No, I study with the Jesuits and the Benedictines. But have you seen the hate? Have you seen the trolling? That is demonic. See, people say, "Oh, Bishop Long, that's too conservative." No, it's not. When you purposely go onto someone's live or on whatever it is, social media, and you purposely use words to try to break someone down, that's demonic. You certainly can't argue that's being a good person, that's being a good behavior. You certainly can't argue that. I've talked about this before. There was a 12-year-old kid, and his name is Kevin, and he has a brittle bone disease. He can't stand because obviously he'd break his legs. And there were trolls. There were people. There were trolls. Think about that. There were trolls that tried to get him banned on TikTok by falsely reporting his live, stating that he is harassing people. This is a 12-year-old kid that talks about his Legos and sings. And these people, because this 12-year-old kid had brittle bone disease and could not stand, just wanted to put joy in people's hearts, these people purposely tried to get him banned. That is demonic. That is pure evil. And there's no other way to this. There's no other way. There's no other word. It is pure evil. And you can't say, "Well, I'm just joking." No, you're trying to break this person's spirit. That's demonic. And of course, then he went online and he made a video and he was crying because he kept saying, "Why are you doing this to me? I just come on and try. This is the only thing that I look forward to in my life that I can do without worrying about breaking my bones." It is evil. It's demonic. So anybody who does that needs to really take a step back and ask for forgiveness, because that's pretty evil. There you are. No, I don't believe all ghosts are demons. We actually see in Scripture. Remember, there's several times we see in Scripture. A lot of people say all ghosts are demons. Nope, I disagree. 100%, 100%. Well, Scripture says it, and I mean it's quite clear. So the idea that all ghosts are demons, nope, because it's in the Bible. So, and then people always want to, "Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" Well, don't you remember when Jesus was walking on water? And the disciples saw it, and they said it's a ghost. Well, they meant demon. It's not what it says. It's not what it says. Demons and ghosts are two different words. You can't see, now people are making it up because it doesn't fit with their narrative. So they were terrified because they thought they were seeing a ghost. Even when Jesus was crucified and he was resurrected and he came back, and they were terrified, and they thought they said they was seeing a ghost. And Jesus said, in fact, he clarified it and said, "I'm not a ghost. Ghosts do not have flesh and bones as you see that I have." That was in Luke chapter 24 and Matthew chapter 14, verse when he was walking on water. So no, I do not believe that all ghosts are demons. I just don't. So, and keep in mind, a lot of people say, "Why don't you ever answer my questions?" Because I only have two eyes and I have two computers. So I can only look at one question at a time. And I have chat open here and chat open here and chat open here. So I run the show on multiple platforms, not just on TikTok. So we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Rumble, KGRADB Radio. So, and of course, TikTok. I believe it's the human spirit. Listen, here's let me just I've investigated, I don't know how many cases, thousands, for 35 years ago. That was my first time that I investigated a location. And I'm telling you, in any paranormal investigator that is seasoned, that doesn't think everything is a demon, I'm telling you, there have been cases, many cases, that it was not demonic. And people say, well, that's not true. How many cases have you worked? Zero. So you're giving an opinion based on what? You've never worked a case in your life. So what knowledge and experience are you bringing to the table to criticize someone who's been in the field and experienced something 35 years ago? Yeah, Facebook is best, but Facebook, I have over, I don't know how many messages. I do the best I can. I try to keep up, and it's just. So anyway, but listen to this. I want to present a couple of stories before we get before we have plenty of time. We still have some little more time, but I want to talk a little bit about this. This is interesting. And by the way, folks, for those of you who are brand new to this platform, well, thank you. We are here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and so we have open mic night. Miss Judy Ann is with me. Miss Wilma. Miss Wilma is my dear friend who's 69 years old, who's in heart failure, multiple sclerosis, but she still comes on, tells jokes, and we goof off. We have a good time for 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, and then we go into your demonology paranormal questions. Now, someone, of course, there's a few, the trolls, of course, once again, that's on Messenger that's slamming me, saying that I'm a fake clergy because I never talk about God. This is an opportunity to teach people that perhaps maybe you shouldn't judge. Maybe you shouldn't judge at all. Because if you actually follow me, then you know that we have Bible study every Sunday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As a matter of fact, we're now going through all the books of the Bible, and I'm explaining them to you in detail for no charge. There are people who charges thousands of dollars for this. I want to make that clear. I've seen them. I mean, we're talking for every book in the Bible. I am breaking it down and teaching you every symbol, all the meanings, for absolutely free of charge. And by the way, I don't get paid as clergy, so I don't get a paycheck. I'm doing this because I love theology, and I want to teach it for free. For the trolls, you can just go away. So every Sunday and Wednesday, we're here for Bible study. Every Monday through Friday, we pray night prayer. At 10 p.m. Eastern Standard, we pray the Psalms. So again, before you make a fool of yourself, I'm not going to mention your name because I'm not here to humiliate you or several of you. Maybe you should actually learn the facts first. And then if you have a question, then maybe you should ask it. Ridiculous. Okay, so Sundays and Wednesdays, yeah, I have a little background music playing. So Sundays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Bible study. And as a matter of fact, I took 6 months to teach Revelation. Nope, I never said I don't live off anything. I have a doctorate and 3 master degrees. So I do work. I teach Bible. Of course, I love teaching, but I teach English, online English. I used to be a dean of a college. So I support the ministry. Oh, yeah. I can earn income, which is, you have to, because you got to pay your bills. I mean, I think everybody's expecting everything for free. And while I never charge and never have, never will. See, that's what I'm saying. The trolls will always get you. It will never be enough. I've taken a vow of celibacy. That's not enough. I've taken a vow of poverty. That's not enough. I never charge, never have, in over 20 years doing this ministry. Put $15,000 of bills on my credit card just to get the people's homes, to bless their homes for free. Still not enough. So you see, that's what I don't care. That's why I don't care about trolls. I don't care. Never take criticism from someone that you would not go to for advice. So I don't listen to trolls. Listen to this. This is a really interesting story for those of you who don't know. So we'll be here tomorrow. And yeah, either that or, yeah, you can. If you want to make a donation, that'd be great. I'm not going to say no to people who want to help. You can go to, now, I'm not going to mention the names of schools. No, we're not doing that. Nope, not doing that. Do you realize that I had death threats? 15 years ago, I was getting credible death threats. It was so bad that when I went to Indiana at a paranormal conference, they had to hire 4 police officers. 4. Because I was doing a ministry for free. Thank you a little bit. When I went to church and I was having mass, I had to have a weapon on my body while I was saying mass. So no, there are some things that I'm not going to divulge. No, that ain't gonna happen. So yeah, it was that crazy. So people, it's pretty serious. I mean, there are some unstable people out there, and it was dangerous. I'll never forget that. When we had mass, we had to have a plain clothes a police officer. He was sitting in the back at the church. We had to have him there because of the death threats that I was getting. And this is what I was doing. I was doing this ministry for 100% free, never charging. I was preaching about loving everybody, no matter who they are, being kind to people, blessing, nothing. That was the threat. That was the threat. So anyway, nope, because not all exorcists are Roman Catholic. Because I believe in not judging people and that kind of crap. But anyway, new folks, the difference between the Rome. Yeah, you can go to usocc.org and it's all there for you. usocc.org. I look younger tonight. Well, all right. I appreciate that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I don't know about the. That might decide say something differently. Well, we are regular Catholic. Again, usocc.org, guys. usocc.org. Oh, you can confess. You should. I love confession. Listen to this, everybody. Listen. Hold on. And we're going to be here tomorrow. I am Catholic. usocc.org. If you go to that site, it's going to answer all your questions. I promise you. He's an hour younger Sunday night. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We are going to be younger. Yeah. Jonathan's asking a good question. Do you have to confess to take communion? Well, it depends. If you have venial sins or mortal sin. So in the Roman Church, it teaches that before you receive communion, and if you're in mortal sin, you need the sacrament of reconciliation, and then you receive the Blessed Sacrament. If you have venial sins, that communion will absolve venial sins. So that's the catechism of the church. Okay. So, okay, let me just say this very quickly, because a lot of people say, oh, you're not Roman Catholic, you're not this. I studied in the Roman Catholic Church, the seminary. I went to graduate school. I know the catechism very, very well. I studied it. And Dominus Jesus, that was written by St. Pope John Paul and written also by Pope Benedict, states that any church that has valid apostolic succession is considered validly Catholic. I have a 110-page document that shows my apostolic succession to Peter. So therefore, please don't come at me and say, well, you know this, I'm not interested. Then go away. Tonight is paranormal night. So I can answer your questions. We can get into those questions. The reason is I'm very firm on this is because people wait once a week for Friday night paranormal. And I'm here Saturdays, I'm here Sundays, I'm here Wednesdays, and I answer all the theological questions that you guys have. So people who are here on Fridays expect paranormal Fridays. And that's what we're going to do. Because on Saturdays and Sundays and Wednesdays, I devote a lot of time answering theological questions. So if you want me to answer theological questions, Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays. Fair? Fair. Okay. Oh, no, Christy, no, you're good. Christy, no, that wasn't addressed to you. I think people sometimes think that I address those. No, I have right now, I have 43 messages on Messenger. So for those of you who are brand new, I'm running the show on TikTok. I'm also running the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, Instagram, Rumble, and Spreaker. So I'm being slammed with a lot of hate questions on Messenger, and I was addressing those. Christy, you're good. Welcome. We appreciate you guys being here. Listen, everybody, this is a really interesting story. I want to get into this. A Bigfoot was spotted, allegedly, in Missouri as a man describes a terrifying encounter. It claims it jumped 8 foot into the air. I don't know about this one. I believe there's something there. This is by, I'm trying to find out who the author is, and it doesn't say the author, but it says here, a man who lives in Pike County, Missouri, an area known to have a large amount of reported Bigfoot sightings, said he had an interaction with the Sasquatch. Just in time for spooky season, William, who is a resident in Pike County, Missouri, said that not only did he have an encounter with a mysterious creature, but the creature jumped 8 feet into the air. And William recently told the YouTube channel Sasquatch Theory about the incident. Says, I'm driving along the creek and there's a bend in the creek. The creek is about 8 foot drop from where I'm at. And as I get to the bend in the creek, I look over and there it is, William explained. It is squatting. It's on 2 legs, squatting down like a man would squat down, covered in hair. It was in the creek and it turns its head, makes eye contact. And for what seems like an eternity, he said. And William said that he completely froze once the two made eye contact. He said, I was froze. I could not move whatsoever. Then it turns its head and looks straight forward. From squatting, it jumps 8 foot up to the same level ground and takes off on 2 legs. According to the Bigfoot Research Organization website, Pike County is a hot spot when it comes to Bigfoot sightings. There is something, people ask me all the time, do I believe in Bigfoot? I do. And the reason being because there's too many people. There's too many people who are experiencing these things. And I think we have to be careful with dismissing them because I don't know. There's something. I think there's something going on. What do you guys believe in Bigfoot? I'm just curious. I think there's something. And speaking of, some people say yes, some people no. Well, get this. This is interesting. This is interesting. Listen to this story. This is by T.K. Randall. And it says, a political candidate wants to make Bigfoot the state animal of Idaho. We are brothers. That's right. That's right. And see, I think that's the thing. By the way, let me just say this really quickly. For those people who think, well, you're not this denomination, so therefore you're not in the club, I'm going to remind you of scripture when the disciples came up to Jesus and said, hey, Jesus, there's people casting out demons in your name, but they're not with us. Do you want us to stop them? And Jesus says, no, if they're doing it in my name, they can't be against us. So this whole denomination thing that we're better than you and you need to be in our club. And if you're not in our club, you're not going to, that actually is a violation against ecumenism. And so if you are Roman Catholic and if you are going to other people and saying, well, you're not Roman Catholic, you're not the right Catholic, the Pope actually just recently said that is a very grave sin because it is a violation against ecumenism. So you are violating what the Pontiff said. So if you're Roman Catholic, then you got to follow what the Pope said. Just saying. Ecumenism means you got to respect each other's rights. As far as their denomination, you know, I don't think that the heaven is separated. Well, you're a Lutheran and you're Episcopalian and you're this. And Oh, 5 votes said 100% yes, say yes. So anyway, a political candidate wants to make Bigfoot the state animal of Idaho. Idaho, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, think about that. So a challenge in the upcoming battle for Idaho's District 16 representative, the seat is pushing a rather unusual policy. And enticing the electorate to vote for you is usually a case of outlining what improvements you're looking to make and what your political policies are and how you are a better candidate than your opponent. For Republican challenger Chandler Stewart had Rabba, however, there is one particular issue in mind that it would seem to be rather low on most people's priority. See, this person is running against incumbent Democrat Sonia Galaviz in the race for Idaho's District 16 state representative seat, wants to make the state the country's top destination for Bigfoot tourism. Now, here's the deal. That's actually not stupid because Bigfoot tourism is big bucks. And if you don't think it is, go to some of these huge conferences. There are massive, massive conferences in Bigfoot. And I mean, just the hotels, the everything from car rentals, restaurants. It is big bucks. So actually, it's not a dumb idea. And the person says, I really want to make Idaho #1 for Bigfoot tourism, he said. I think this is a creative way to have our rural communities and remote areas benefit more from tourism in such a great state. Rabba even wants to take things one step further by making Bigfoot the official state animal of Idaho. And by introducing tags allowing the cryptozoological bipeds to be legally hunted. Anyway, all this, he argues, will bring more tourism revenue to rural parts of the state. While this is certainly a unique approach, it's unclear whether or not such a policy will sway voters. I don't know about that. See, okay, if you want to make Bigfoot the state animal, I think you probably went a bit too far with that. But I mean, to have the tourism, that makes sense. No, because I do believe in the rapture, and I believe the rapture is prior to tribulation. But that's my personal belief. Okay, even though what's that saying? Oh, Mr. Producer says even the new Utah hockey team is considering Yeti for a team name next year. And Mr. Producer says those were Utah Blizzard, Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth, and Utah Outlaws, Utah Venom, and Utah Yeti. Here's the deal. Look, whether people like it or not, I mean, it's big bucks. Tourism is big bucks. So, I mean, it's a business. I mean, it is a big business. Well, why not? But as far as hunting, I'm not really a big fan of that because, I mean, I think, we can kind of get in some trouble with that. So because we don't know what they are. Or even, there's a lot of debates whether they exist, but I certainly think that there's something that they do. Keep in mind, folks, don't forget, tomorrow I'm going to be here at 8 p.m. I have not, Nancy, but I'm going to be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be with TikTok. I'm going to stay with you guys a little bit after the show, so just stay with me. But tomorrow I'm going to be here 8 p.m. Eastern for open mic night, where we can talk about theology. We can talk about the Bible. See, people don't understand, and I get a lot of flack from that because I'm not going to make everybody happy. Too bad. So the policy is this. On Fridays, this is People's Paranormal Friday show. Because on Sundays and Wednesdays, I don't talk paranormal. I'm very strict on that. It's theology. So on Fridays, people wait for an entire week to talk paranormal. Okay, that's what we do. And Saturdays, we can talk paranormal too. Saturdays, we can talk theology. So Fridays and Saturdays, we can talk, Fridays, we talk paranormal. Saturdays, we can talk both. Sundays and Wednesdays, I don't entertain paranormal questions. It's strictly theology. And that's just the way I do the schedule. And I think that's fair. That's why I have, things like this. So, but anyway, yeah, aliens are certainly considered, that's paranormal. Yeah. And we can talk paranormal tomorrow, and we can talk theology tomorrow. Absolutely. Yeah, there are some. Yes, there is. There is a new. There's a new documentary coming out on Netflix. Netflix. Anybody know that? Investigative Discovery, I think what it's called. It's the new Alien Netflix. Netflix on aliens. Let me just see if I find this. There's a new series coming out. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, it's supposed to be really, really good. And oh, goodness gracious. So there's somebody who's suing a woman who claims she was abducted by aliens in 1989, sues Netflix over docu-series. Well, that's not good. The woman whose claim of a 1989 alien abduction is chronicled in a new Netflix docu-series to be released Wednesday has sued. When was this? October 20th. So recently, has sued the streamer in New York Supreme Court, claiming the Manhattan alien abduction defames her and paints her in an unflattering light and steals the work of an author who first wrote about her story more than 20 years ago. Well, so that is interesting. That's interesting. Okay, for those of you on Spreaker, I'm going to have to wrap this up. I'm going to remind everybody, remember, don't forget, I'm going to be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you don't have to worry about it. We're going to be here, and we can talk theology. We can talk paranormal. Also, everybody, please note that I'm going to be here tonight on Spreaker for night prayer. 9:45 p.m. we start Eastern Standard on Spreaker. On TikTok, we started at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so that's tonight for night prayer. But I'm going to be with you guys. I'm staying with you guys for just a moment on TikTok, and it's already time. It's actually I'm running a little late. Okay, my friends, listen to me very carefully when I say this to all of you. Your value does not decrease based on somebody's inability or refusal to see your worth. You are priceless, and don't let any troll tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Rumble, KGRADB Radio. Good night.